Good evening.
And welcome to Club Night. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mr. David Flello.
Not going over to that other microphone. I'm going to do it from this microphone. So thank you, Dave. Welcome, everybody, to Club Night, the UJAM Society, Universal Jazz Advocates and Mentorship Society, and we are doing again our monthly Club Night. We've been trying to keep it regular. This is a little bit different because we don't have, well, we've got a club, but we got nobody in it. And so we've got the building, and we've got you at home, and we're looking forward to an interview with our special guest tonight, Mr. Joe Hathaway, and the regular house band. What we normally do on a club night is we have singers, mostly it's singers, come and work with the band, sometimes with a mentor who gives them some feedback and some ideas about what they can possibly do to understand the music better and interpret it better and perform it better. And we're not going to do any of that with Joe because he's an expert. So, so that first tune was Straight No Chaser. And I'm just going to let Joe. Do you want to let him just talk for a little bit? Talk about himself. Who are you, Joe?
Yeah, who is Joe Hathaway?
Who is Joe Hathaway?
The FBI knows.
Where to start?
When he was very small.
I played clarinet in the concert band when I was 13 years old, and it was fun. And it was much more fun playing the saxophone in the dance band. And the cool people were there, and it was drinking and smoking and staying up late. And the school had a twin town. So we went to Denmark, and they had a marching band, and so you get to stay in someone's house, and then the other kid comes over to your home, and you meet lots of musicians, and there was opportunities to play. My uncle had a band, and it was a bit rock and roll. And then I went to study in Hitchin, Hertfordshire, met some more people, recently connected to them on Facebook, although I'm not a fan. And then I studied in Newcastle.
Yes.
And the man behind me probably wants me to say something like there was a pop band called The Police, and there was a guy that he probably knows called Sting. Is that right, Liam?
A little bit.
They shared house with musicians and lots of fun. And guess what the better players did from that course? They didn't finish the course. They went to work on cruise ships. And that's when there were summer seasons, and I did pantomime and longer periods of work playing with more people, and sink or swim, and lots of fun and traveling on the high seas. And I met a Canadian. As some of you would know, I then moved to Canada, Sunshine Coast, lived on Roberts Creek. And I'd heard of Victoria, and it was a cool place. And then we sold everything and traveled for a year. I went to many places with my flute, borrowed a saxophone when I could, and jammed, and ended up in Victoria. And the kids went to no, they didn't go to Vic High. They went to Oak Bay High. I teach kids from Vic High sometimes. And met Dave and Liam very quickly, and I've enjoyed playing with them ever since. And then I met Barry and Bill Kent. And Herman's has always been good, and it's going to be good again. So we're going to play another tune for you now, and next time I'll let Dave ask me some questions. This one is called I'm Beginning to See the Light. Yeah.
Last evening?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
beginning to see the light. I guess that's what happened when you got to the Sunshine Coast.
Big culture shock.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. Well, I've been on a few cruise ships myself, so I know it's somewhat confining at times, but you probably got to rub shoulders with some excellent musicians along the way.
Indeed we did. There was a guy, and maybe he was fibbing, but the first thing he said when he came to take the trumpet chair in our 8-piece band going to Bermuda was, where could I practice? And we were just into jeeps and scuba diving and beer and girls, and it's a bit of a shock. It turns out that David Chesky had written a symphony, a trumpet concerto just for him. And then he said he was the trumpet. Have I told you this, Dave? They had to re-record the theme for Dynasty every year. And there's some union thing. And he was he was the piccolo trumpet guy. And so when the band leader found out that he could put things up the octave for things like Celebrate Good Times and all the pop ones that we did at the time, it felt really, really good. And unnecessary in a small band, but fun. And it was like, it was a good thing.
It's always a problem for musicians now, I think, to, after you graduate or go out in the world to make a living, you have to find gigs. And for horn players particularly, I think that's what draws a lot of people to cruise ship industry is there's a steady gig, 3 meals square a day, place to sleep.
And it was a shock to find that the first contract with a day off every week was not the norm.
So what was a typical day on the ship?
There's days where you're at sea. There's days where you can't go to shore because you're rehearsing some magician's show who wants it just perfect, and you know they're going to get off very, very quickly. And depends what time you have to be on stage. And if you have to do the deck set, I had to do the accordion for Baked Alaska and lots of other fun things, and Ashley knows what I'm talking about.
So after getting to Victoria, I know that you took some time off to tour the world. You pulled your kids out of school, sold your house, and off you went back on the high seas to see the world, which you've already been around probably.
Yeah, but it was different because that was a family of 4, and there's supposedly some homeschooling going on as well, but it was more of a I don't know if it was like another big anti-establishment. In schools, we weren't allowed to take even one day off. You had to ask permission in England, and then all about the testing. It was quite stressful. So this was, no one bats an eyelid here. Oh, we'll take the kids out. We'll go somewhere different. It'll be good for them. And we went to Hong Kong. We went to Rio. We went to Bali. And many, many places, and lots of jamming, lots of opportunities.
And we've got some Bali stories we can share maybe after the next tune.
Yes.
In the meantime, most of you know Herman's has been the oldest and longest running jazz club here in Canada. And UJAM is not quite as old as Herman's. We've been around for 17, 18 years now, I think.
158.
Yeah. But it was through the generosity of Herman and Herman's Jazz Club that UJAM always had a home for jazz. And we're saddened to hear that COVID is taking its toll on this institution, and they very dearly need your support right at this time. So there is a donate button on your screen. Normally that money would be just flowing into our pockets, but not tonight. We're going to make sure that any money donated tonight goes directly to Arts and View Society and this very great jazz club that we are able to come and play and hang out. It's wonderful for us because this band hasn't been together, I don't think, for 2 or 3 years. This is probably the last time I play with you guys. And we've been doing our club nights online. People have been keeping the music alive as best we can, but no better place to do it than in a jazz club. So we do miss our live audience, but we know we've got a great audience there at home on the live stream. So if you feel so inclined, please generate some income here for our poor struggling jazz club. Thank you.
Liam brought his checkbook. He's going to donate thousands tonight.
Yeah. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
It's made of rubber.
Governor Benema. 1, 2, and here we go now.
Thank you, Joe Hathaway. And if you've just tuned in, you're listening to UJAM Club Night with a spotlight on Joe. Joe, that's probably one of the most played songs on a cruise ship, I have to think.
No, it was more, I just called to say I love you,
Oh, okay.
and Misty, and In the Mood, and one that you may not be familiar with. We used to do a lot of Dave Tanner, a lot of London orchestrations. It was Italian Rumba number 4.
That means something to some people
And
here.
there was medleys of foxtrots and medleys of rumbas and medleys of quick steps, and yeah, it was just medleys of waltzes again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
And you were on the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth?
Queen Mary is a passenger, and the last bit that I did was 6 weeks on the QE2, pretending that I didn't know that half of the band was going to get fired. They were all supposed to be on best behavior. He'd already booked a new bass player, a new guitarist. And then those were the days. And then trying to get money from the union because they'd filmed an episode of a TV show. It was...
The music business. What can we say? Well, when I think I met Joe at a registered music teachers meeting. I think that was our first encounter. And he told me we were just about to go to Bali on a trip, and he said, "Well, I've been there. I spent 6 months there, as a matter of fact." 2. Well, close. Anyways, we had a wonderful trip over there, and because of my association with Joe, he opened a few doors for me. He had been there spending some time and interacting with musicians, and we found in Densipar, the populated area at the south end of the island, they had a jazz club. And because it's so tropical there, the piano tuning is all over the map. Pianos are flying apart, insects are eating them. It's not a healthy place for a piano. And I got to the jazz club, and there was a great band up there. And the piano player, they were doing a Beatles cover. Which one was it now? I Want You, I Need You. Anyways, at one point the piano player got up and started stomping up and down on the piano, jumping up and down with his feet on the keys. And all night he was just hammering and hammering, hammering. And I said, "Oh, that poor piano." So I went to look at it the next day, and the insects had eaten all the felts out from underneath it, under the keys. And the only way you could play this thing to make any sound was just hammering the heck out of it. So with some improvised materials, I was able to replace those felts, and suddenly the piano worked. So I had a free meal every night in this jazz club for the week that I was there. So, but Joe also introduced me to a music teacher. Do you remember her, Joe? Yeah. She was a music teacher by evening and a physician by day. And I also helped her out with some tuning, and they treated us to a very lovely time on the beach. We had a Petriana, yes, good times. So we have another song, and maybe Mr. Flauta would like to join us.
All of me.
Dave, please join us.
Is there a trumpet player around?
Yes.
And we'll segue to Dave's questions.
Yeah. Take the first chorus, Dave. One, two, 3.
It was.
Okay, so I have some questions for you, Joel. Mostly because of my background in the education field, and I haven't had a lot of experience with music education in the UK.
Right.
So I did go over, spent some time, and it was in a little town. I was in Orpington.
Kent.
Yes, there you go. So outside of London, and they have like a central. The schools themselves, the public schools, don't have music programs, or they have kind of a general music program. They may do some percussion things and that kind of stuff, but they didn't really have bands. And there was an organization. What were they called? I have to think about that. But there was an organization that ran band programs out of a central art school,
Yep.
kind of a thing. So is that sort of common over there?
I try and explain often to people the idea that every kid would have a little bit of all types of music until the age of 14. So in the national curriculum we'll say there's going to be 20 minutes of reggae and 20 minutes of klezmer and 20 minutes of Gregorian chant and 20 minutes of sting. And then at the age of 14 they choose their options, and options is GCSE exams, and most of the kids will drop it. It's not considered an essential or an important subject like it is for some of us here. And so then even fewer would take it at the age of 16 or 17 for A-levels. And A-levels is what you need to get into university. So my nephews, my brother and sister, both have two boys, and the two that came here a couple of years ago, they're at the Royal Academy. One's in already, and one I think is going to Guildhall now. So that means that they're top of their field in their town. But the idea of there being a centre, Saturday morning music school. So I guess that maybe it happened a little bit here, but someone would go and do an hour of ensemble, an hour of theory, an hour of private lesson, an hour of second study, and it would make a whole day of it because the school was understaffed. But where I was in Hertfordshire, peripatetic teachers, there was lots of people doing lots of exams, lots of the times, and competing to get into things with bursaries and scholarships and prizes. So a bulk of my work was getting 10, 11-year-old boys and girls to what's called grade 4 clarinet or grade 4 flute, and rarely saxophone, or even I think there was one oboe. But they know what they're doing for 3 or 4 years to get into a school like St Margaret's or GNS. And then if they keep their grades up on the instrument, then the lessons and the fees would have a reduction with thousands of pounds, and everything would be paid for. Like it is for here, you have your rowing champion and your hockey champion and your baseball champion. So there's way less sports emphasis than there is here. And England would look up to countries in Europe and say, we want to do it like that, and there's more funding, and they would then say, oh, and the better people would go and study in France, or they want to go to Russia, or wherever. So it's very, he was more laid back.
Yeah, so it's like the way you're saying it. There's exams, and there's always a level, and you're always aware of what level you're at. And if you want to go on, there's another level to go to.
Yeah.
So when you came here, I'm just wondering, and your kids were going to high school here, public school here.
No, they transferred at Roberts Creek Elementary into grade. We got there early, and in June, so they could see the school. But of course, June here, as you know, not much happens. And then there was a summer, and summers are much longer here, less school. And they went back in September, and they didn't know what class they were going to be in because they didn't know how many kids were going to turn up. And then grade 3 looked like kindergarten, so we regret putting them into grade 4, but at least grade 4, some of them had started to learn to read or write. Whereas in England, the pressure is on because there are tests at the age of 7, and everyone's trying to, the schools would be graded, and the inspectors would come, and they'd say, this school doesn't need to be failing, and they'll put on special measures, it has to be highly achieving. And then there's the threat on the music, because it can't improve the grades if the kid's really good at music, is it's all English and maths. And of course the people that do English and maths, they're already smart from playing music, and that builds and feeds on itself. So it was a tough one.
Yeah.
And the other thing, this is a shout out for the Coast String Fiddlers. My first experience of music on the Sunshine Coast was people standing around and doing fiddling, and it was like a really big thing, and it still is. And so that was but then because there was no one there, I was a big fish in a small pond, ended up conducting the Sunshine Coast Orchestra. And they got together with the amazing groups in Powell River, and we did a Messiah, and we did a Gloria, and it was like stunning. I got to do Brandenburg, and a kid playing the Schumann Piano Concerto. It was amazing.
Wow. So, without being comparative, we have some great musicians here, obviously.
Certainly do.
Yeah, it seems like it's a fertile ground, and obviously, again, Herman's is a big part of that. I know, I was just talking to Ashley, and she went, when I was teaching in our lackadaisical music education program. And no, it's interesting because my approach early on was a career preparation thing, and we don't have the same kind of levels. We do have like local festivals and national festivals and that kind of thing, but there's no real there's no need to go and do those kinds of things because it's not competitive, and everybody's going to get a participation plaque, and it's this whole North American attitude. But when we were teaching, and I said I wanted to do a career preparation program in music because it's a career for me. And I believe that the people who really wanted to give it a go should be giving it a go. And that means performing, learn how to perform, learning all the tunes, learning a way to do as we're doing right now is make entertainment for folks. And so Herman's was such an important part of that. And that was, it was the 1990s or whatever when we were doing that here. And Herman was such a gracious man and such a supportive man. And he let us, just come down here and have chips and drink pop, and kids would stand on the stage and play, and people would be doing their homework, and it was really, really cool. He let that happen, and those folks a lot of them became musicians and audience members. And so again, I'm asking you to reach down to the donate button and support this club, which has been around for 40 years and deserves your support as such a strong community asset. Let's listen to some more music.
We need you for this one. Mr. PC. Mr. PC.
Mr. PC. How do you spell that?
If you had a British education, you'd know.
And it's not Mr. Politically correct. It's Mr. Paul Chambers.
Yes.
Paul Chambers.
Close enough.
Can we get a feature Paul on
No, probably not. Straight in? Yeah. 1, 2,
Very nice. So these are all great tunes we're playing. They're all from a Bible that we musicians use called the Real Book. Back in the days when we were doing, 6 nights a week in Holiday Inns, etc., every once in a while the traveling salesman would show up in town and he would ask you after the gig, why don't you come back to my hotel room? Not to do anything illegal or illicit, but to look at his illegal stuff that he had for sale. He'd open this big suitcase and it had books in it like this, the Real Book. Only available in suitcases in dark alleys and hotel rooms after hours. And it was the way the musicians sort of took tunes that wouldn't normally make Hal Leonard's, best published list, but allowed us to share music, and we use these books today. They're all now legal. We don't have to go into dark alleys any longer. We can go into music stores and buy them. Copyrights have been arranged. People have been paid off. Everybody's happy. Such is the life of the professional musician. Anyways, I think we should introduce the band while we're taking a little intro here. This is the UJAM house band that comes every month for club night. On guitar, Mr. Liam Arthurs. Yeah. On the bass, Mr. Bill Kent. And master of tubs and sticks, Barry. Former drummer for David Foster. Mr. Barry Casson. And of course, our special guest tonight, Joe Hathaway, who's joined us all the way from Fairfield, Ferndale, Fernwood, somewhere. Via the world on a canard ship somewhere.
I live on Linden.
I was going to ask you a musical question or a music teaching question. I don't know if you know Victor Wooten. Very well written.
I just read the book.
The music lesson it's called. And he wrote a book about music teaching, which is sort of counterculture to most of the ways that we've been taught to play music. His theory that is that there's no such thing. The verb teach is not possible. There's no such thing as teaching someone. Someone can learn, they can study, they can learn something, but to impart knowledge, just, my brain is going to send you knowledge, just doesn't happen. It has to get there in a different way. I wondered what sort of philosophies you have in your teaching and how you approach it.
There was a thing that happened when I was teaching in London. I had groups of saxophone players at the City Literary Institute. And it went level 1 for an hour and a half, level 2 for an hour and a half, and sometimes there was a level 3. And one of the adult students took it upon themselves to make a newsletter comparing different teachers at the institute. And there was a big band, and there was jazz harmony and ear training and many, many different classes. And one of the things was about when is someone ready to perform? And it turned out that I had a very different opinion from one of the other teachers. And I said that people would learn more playing in front of people more often, sooner. And not because it was hip or cool or Charlie Parker or anything. It was just the idea that the learning that you do in front of people is very, very different than the learning that you do alone. And maybe one of the things that separates jazz from classical music is partly that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can always be better, and you can be on stage with people that are 10, 11, 12, 13, and they can impress you and blow you away. At the last minute, impromptu. And one of the other teachers was saying, no, they have to be this level. They have to know this many tunes or be able to play in this many keys, this many scales before. And so we didn't fall out, but it was a different approach. So the people out there that already know me, I'm saying make a duet, find a neighbor, join a group, play more often. Don't just do one activity a week, because as we've seen, that one activity a week can be switched or cancelled or go online or someone's away. So you want to play often, and the people that I like playing with and the people that have influenced me over the years are the people that aren't one genre or one tiny thing. They're playing often with a lot of people, and it makes it easier. The first time you meet someone, if you already have played with someone that speaks a different language, that play with someone that hasn't been to that country or that venue, that club, you've played in enough places, you've done enough tunes that it feels you have more fun sooner. It's a good thing, and I look forward to playing with my nephews again when I get back over to England.
Yeah. And you also conduct and play in a number of different types of groups in Victoria.
There's the concert band, and I accompany a choir called the Goward House Singers on the piano. And yes, I've done various things over the years.
And we're scratching the surface, I think, here. You were one of our prized faculty members at our summer jazz camp for the last 3 years. So it's been great to have you doing that.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's a joy.
And you busked one summer. Are you still doing that this summer?
No. It was an interesting time because we were a three-piece that became a four-piece band. I got to play when I moved here. There was tons of clarinet. I was in a band called the Savvy Six, and we came here quite a few times, and we played at Butchart Gardens. And then I was with Dave Lang, and it was a lot of fun, and sold CDs and played in the sun, on the Causeway.
And besides your conducting, you've also done Langham Court Theatre as well. You did a musical there.
I had to grow mutton chops, and it was interesting. People either laughed and thought it was really, really stupid, or thought it was cool, and it was just part of the role of being in Dickens' thing called Drood, and I got to be on stage playing the piano, and again, that was another fun thing.
And Langham Court, of course, has been in the news recently with their allegations of racial bias and discrimination. I have to say, in most musical circles, we don't feel discrimination. I don't know if that's just me or my eyes aren't open wide enough or not, but I just find musicians of all races, colors get together and play music.
They do, but it's always there.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you experienced at a Langham Court, you think that the complaints were valid?
Yes.
Okay, good, okay. I know it's very, it's a hot topic, because Judy Treloar was a friend of mine. You know, I knew her as a teacher, and Drew Shand, her husband. They're both wonderful people. So it came as quite a shock, and I think it was one of the sad parts of the story that Judy didn't have her time in front of a tribunal so that she could maybe look at her perspective. But anyways, we try and erase those ideas and when we're on the bandstand playing music. Speaking of music,
Page 39.
page 39, he says, this is a jazz standard written by Johnny Mercer and Jacques Prévert. Last 8 in?
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. If you just tuned in, you're at Herman's Jazz Club. Well, you probably know that already. But you are listening to Joe Hathaway on the alto saxophone.
373.
Master of many talents. And we're going to be playing a song for our fathers next. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Do we need trumpet on this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need trumpet.
And Dave,
We're
the bit that I really liked with Victor Wooten was the phrase, "I'll show you." He uses that all the time. He bumps into these imaginary characters, and they're really, really good without trying, and it was always about showing rather than teaching.
Yes. So we're going to play a song by Horace Silver called Song for My Father.
Is the straight passing over? Is it funky Latin or what?
Funky Latin.
Funky Latin.
Dum, dum, dum. You know this one. Dum, dum, dum.
That's where bass starts.
Yeah, just bass and drums to start. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dave, why don't you tell them a little bit about UJAM? Who are we?
Who the heck is the UJAM? 318. Many years ago, Mr. Dave Paulson decided that it was time for a community.
It's not my fault, honestly.
It's totally your fault. He's such a good organizer, and he got a group of disciples together, and we had the Last Supper. But it was the first supper. It was the first supper. Anyway, the whole idea was to have a community organization that would help foster and encourage folks to study the jazz idiom, all aspects of it, and in a cooperative and encouraging and exciting and any kind of way we could bring in mentors, people who just really love to play and find ways to encourage people to continue doing it, as Joe said, to experience doing it in front of other people and as a community. So, I think 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, we started it. And it's included stuff for adults and stuff for young folks. And we've been doing our Young All-Stars program now for a number of years. Mr. David Enns, great educator in town, was doing it for many, many years. And I did it for a bit, and now we have the young folks, Louis Rudner and Ashley Way. I've been teaching the young folks this last couple of years. We've done a jazz camp for the last couple of years, and we do these club nights once a month, and we've had all kinds of really cool activities in the past. And we hope to continue doing that as long as we have a venue, a club like Herman's Jazz Club, where you probably are thinking to yourself, how can I help these folks out? And the society itself, we could function in a basement with a guy with a suitcase and a bunch of books. We could do that. Or we could come to a real jazz club with the real jazz vibe and with history and the spirits of many jazz gods still lingering in the rafters here. So this club really needs your support right now, financially. And as soon as the doors are open, if you could come back and join us in the club, that would be fantastic as well. I don't know if I said enough, Dave.
You're getting it's a good start.
It's a good start. You probably know some more things.
The kids, how much are the kids doing?
How much are the kids doing? Well, the kids are incredible. They really are. We actually started a partnership with Oak Bay Parks and Recreation this last year. Just again, we're trying to find a way to keep the Young All-Stars program happening during the COVID times, and it's been a challenge. Just like all of the schools have been trying to get back, getting the kids back in the school and feeling safe. So we've been doing it out of Windsor Park. There's a facility there that we've been using. We've had, I guess up to 20 kids involved over the last little while. We've done a couple of shows, little performances. We actually, we had the repertory, the Vancouver Island Repertory Jazz Orchestra, which again is a sponsored organization from the UJAM Society. We shared a concert with our young folks back in November right here at the club, and it was packed and it was fantastic and it was a lot of fun. So we're hoping to keep that going, and again, this is it's a chance for people from, students from all different schools, all different age groups to come and give it a go. And we've been finding a way to teach many different levels all at the same time. So, but that's been exciting.
Thank you, David. That about sums it up, and we're running out of time, I'm afraid, but we wanted to thank our mentor, Joe.
Yes, Joe.
Coming out.
Bossa then.
Well, we have to do a bossa.
Thank you.
We've got claves in the house.
5-0.
What are we doing?
Blue Bossa.
What club is doing?
Did he not? I have to put a shout out for Larry.
Oh, Larry.
He would have been here.
Larry plays the claves. We miss the claves.
I can
Anyways,
try.
for all you singers out there, we do miss you, and we hope that we will be back next month, February. The third Monday of each month is set aside for club night, so we'll hope you come and join us live and in the flesh when the restrictions are lifted and people feel safe again. In the meantime, have a happy swinging time, and thank you, Joe. We're going to end it with a tune, Kenny Durham tune, called Blue Bossa.
One, straight in. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Herman.
Thank you.
And if you want to find more about Joe, you can go to joesmusic.ca. joesmusic.ca.
Without the S, just Joe Music.
Joe Music, oh. Like Joe Fresh. Is that it? You're not in danger of any copyright violation, are you?
When you contemplate the illegality of these men, please remember to hit the donate button at the bottom of the page.
Thank you at home, and good night.
Good night, good night.
Thank you.
You want to play one out, or is that?
Thanks, guys.
You want to play one out?
If they're done, they're done. We're done.
Ashley, done? Play one out?
Oh, they're asking for an encore. There's nobody in the house, but they're asking for an encore.
What do you want to do?
Out of nowhere.
I don't know where, okay.
That's 3-1-8.
Yeah, the great part about this is you can play Star Trek over it, right? Was it which came first, this song or the theme from Star Trek?
Well, they're both from out of nowhere.
That goes on this. I'll try it when we get there. I'll try it.
Do it. Let's go. Good night, everybody. That's it. Safe journey home.
I guess this is it. So long until next month. Thank you.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Joe for the boys.